All right, and exactly as predicted, Bitcoin has continued to drop down. So I want to break down for you where I think this crash can end. I have some, I think, very good ideas of where this could be going, and I also want to cover for you the bull case as well, because as usual, this is a very realistic and grounded TA channel, and I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys both sides of the story so that you can make the best, most informed decision for your own funds. So here we go. Bitcoin did end up, as I was predicting, rally up in terms of showing some strength in response to the very bullish inflation news. Obviously, if the US dollar is seeing quite high levels of inflation, that's going to mean that prices rise up, including Bitcoin. So I think that's why we were seeing this drop. But I was warning you guys that I was expecting Bitcoin on the Monday, which is today, or 2 hours ago here in Dubai in my time zone, that I was expecting Bitcoin to actually get quite a substantial drop. And I would expect that to happen on Monday, because that's when the news can be picked up. And I was basically saying that even though this is really strong news for Bitcoin, we already knew that inflation was priced in. Now, a lot of people disagreed with me on that, and they said, yeah, but the news was already floating around in the market. Guys, not the point, right? We already knew inflation was really high, and the key thing is we need to be realistic with ourselves right now. Just because this narrative fits in with our investments, it doesn't mean that it's going to immediately have an effect on the market. This is a very long-term thing right now. At the moment, the fact is, and I don't care how much you like or dislike this fact, the fact is the US dollar is very strong in the global index, in this, according to this global index, right? Like, yes, it's seeing a lot of inflation, but the US dollar is performing really well compared to other currencies around the world. And the reason that I'm tying this into my analysis right now is that this has strong effects on Bitcoin. You see, if the US dollar is indeed in a situation like this, well then, Bitcoin should, in the longer run, start to see some pretty strong runs. But at the moment, it's already, everyone already knew that inflation was going to be very high. And so, it was already priced in. People who wanted to buy Bitcoin based off that inflation news will have already done so, right? You can't assume that people are that stupid, and especially not, just because it fits in with your investment plan. And I think that's really important. So we're starting to see, that smack back to reality right here with Bitcoin starting to drop a little bit lower. We're going to see the fear and greed index update probably dropping sharply lower. It's at about 28 right now, showing us that we're still in fearful territory, but definitely jumped out of extremely fearful territory, and Bitcoin has lost this support area right here. So it's not in any clear trend. I did show you guys this box, and I'd actually like to redraw it to look something a little bit like this. But what I really want to draw your attention to for a potential target for where Bitcoin could end up dropping to is going to be showing you what happens if I show you this descending triangle. So Bitcoin has been forming a potential descending triangle, and the reason that I really like this idea right now is because Bitcoin has consistently been forming descending triangles lately, where it ends up basically finding a little bit of diagonal resistance that looks like this, and a little bit of horizontal support that looks like this, probably just a touch lower. And the reason that I think this is a big deal is that, typically this is quite a bearish sign. Now, I mean, Bitcoin isn't actually much below this support level right here. I mean, it's only at the moment about 1% and dropped below by about 3%. So this could very well be a fake out, and then Bitcoin recovers back up. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't want to make a conclusion on that right now. I'll do that later on in this video, so make sure you stick around. And by the way, if you find these videos are useful and helpful, do me a favor, smash up the like, subscribe, and tick the bell, do all that good stuff for the algorithm. If you enjoy this video, please go ahead and do me that favor right there. But this can very well, kind of rise back up. But the key point is that it's been forming a lot of descending triangles like this. And I just want to remind you about the last one that I was warning you guys about on this very same YouTube channel was right here. So again, demonstrating to you the importance of making sure you're subscribed to the channel. I was warning you guys about this very same pattern while we were in it. And then, of course, we ended up getting that breakdown after first having a quite big fake out, right? So this could definitely be the same thing printing out again, but that would be, we have similar characteristics. This is the key thing I want you guys to keep in mind, is that Bitcoin can have similar characteristics, right? And so a characteristic would be forming a descending triangle that looks like this, but it doesn't necessarily just straight up copy paste price history and move like that. I mean, that would be a literal copy paste if it does exactly what I've just drawn now. So I definitely don't think that that's what we're going to be seeing. But I mean, look, history rhymes. It's showing us the same characteristics, right? Like lately, Bitcoin has just been painting a lot of triangles. I don't really know why, but it's working and I've been able to identify it. So, why the hell not use that in my analysis, right? And the reason that I really like this idea, other than the fact that it's been doing this a lot lately, most recently, just literally like a few days ago. Well, no, not a few days ago. My bad. Like about 10 days ago now. The other reason that I like this idea is that it just makes sense when we look at some of the other indicators that could be providing resistance for Bitcoin, right? Like the 4-hour Ichimoku cloud right here. Look at where my resistance line falls with the Ichimoku cloud. I mean, it's perfect. And most recently, we got this rejection from the cloud, which I was warning you about on this channel. I'm very bitter that my short position ended up getting stopped out at break even. But those of you who were inside of VIP, you'll already know that I had my take profit levels outlined prematurely. Well, not prematurely, that's the wrong word, but in advance. And I was able to have some profits secured on that position. And because Bitcoin was chopping around quite a bit, I even increased my take profit strategy to be even more aggressive with profit taking in case this very scenario happened, just to make sure that if the trade went in the wrong direction, I would still close like as much profit as I'm comfortable closing without just closing the whole position too early. And so that's kind of part of the real-time nature of the VIP experience, where we were running a 50% sale. It's just ended a few hours before me making this video. That's basically what we're covering inside of the VIP group when we talk about stuff like that, is the situation in this market where I might have to change my plan on the fly, and why I would do that, and why it's important for me to consider these things and so on. So if you do want to jump inside, then click on the first link in the description down below. But I do really like seeing how this resistance line that I've drawn here lines up with the 4-hour Ichimoku cloud, which has a little bit of resistance to give us if we do manage to climb back up. And the whole reason I'm showing you this is basically to show you that I think this descending triangle is quite valid for Bitcoin, because the next key thing I want to do after, and I'm going to show you this later, is show you where this might give us a target for Bitcoin. So that's why this is important. And then of course, with the 4-hour EMA ribbon, more or less the top of this ribbon lining up with that resistance line again. So just really, I mean, it's showing us that this whole range can act as resistance for Bitcoin right now. And obviously, it's had, one of the key things, one of the key characteristics of a bear market is, or at least a bearish trend, right, is that we have bullish things and we're not responding with strength to them. So a bullish example, like a bullish thing, would be that inflation news, right? I mean, we already knew it was happening, but put it this way: if that news dropped and we were already in a bull market, we would be going crazy right now. Like, it would be absolutely insane. The fact that that news dropped and we only got, like a 2-day rally, and then we're setting brand new lows, like that, like local lows, that to me is a really big deal. Like, that's basically telling me a lot about the state of this market. I'm not trying to be the doomsday guy that's always talking about negative shit. I'm just being realistic. And guys, if you appreciate that, I'm putting my balls out on the line, telling people things that they don't want to hear, things that aren't going to get me the subscribers, things that aren't going to get me viral and get me invited to all the events where we're all stroking each other off, talking about Bitcoin, going to beautiful price numbers, then do me a favor, smash up the likes, hit the subscribe button, tick the bell. If you want to see more about what we're doing, first link in the description, you can get access to our paid stuff as well. But this is a really important note, guys. I mean, if we were in a bear market, which I think we're in right now, like a mini bear market, and bullish news like this comes up, we're not going to respond with too much strength. It's just a simple fact of how these markets operate. It's not me trying to put a bearish twist on this stuff. And it's really important to understand that, because as soon as you understand things like that, you're going to be a lot more distanced from the market. And that's going to allow you to pull profits in this market, because the more distanced you are, the less emotionally invested you are, the better your opportunities will be, the better the opportunities you'll see will be, and so on. And that's why we've been able to secure some nice gains right here on Bitcoin for myself and inside of VIP. Very, very cool stuff there indeed. And so that's what I'm looking at in terms of, potentially being a bearish trend right here. And I'm just using other pieces of fundamental news to continue to put that picture together for me. Like I said, responding with, pretty much relatively weakness after, just 2 days to that bearish news. Like I said, just a little bit of a delayed reaction. Again, like I said, a lot of questions about that in the last video, but it's pretty clear to see that that is indeed what ended up happening. And the next thing I want to do is basically just measure the size of this descending triangle. So from the support level up to the top of the resistance line, how tall is it? And then I just want to put this at the breakout point, and this can give me a potential speculative target for where Bitcoin can end up dropping down to. And right here, it's pretty much giving us a double bottom, which is really, really interesting. Now, I have to mention, not all charts for Bitcoin show the same thing, right? Other charts, and I'm going to show this to you in just a moment, will show us that it's actually going to give us a lower high, right? And so it'll look a little bit more like this. That's where Bitcoin would bottom out at, just a little bit higher than the previous low. Both are very bullish in my opinion. Very, very important to keep in mind. But this is the key thing I want you to understand right now, is that we were conforming to this descending triangle pretty well. If I zoom in a bit more, you can see that we've had some pretty good touches on the 1 hour time frame. We found support right here. Let me just paint this for you. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 individual tests of this support level. And of course, unfortunately, only 2 tests of the resistance. So it's not that good in terms of, ideally we would have tested it a 3rd time and then dropped down. That would have been perfect, but we did have a lot of support hits, and so we're getting there. We didn't have a long time to form this pattern, in all honesty. We only had about 10 days. And so, to drop a little bit lower, I think would make it a lot of sense. And, another thing that I want you guys to be reminded about right now is that a lot of people really have been expecting a very bullish November and a very bullish December. And obviously, we know how that went for the market. This is very much like the Red Wedding happening all over again. For those of you who watched Game of Thrones, pretty much since the 10th day of November, Bitcoin has been in a downtrend now, and it's been trending downwards overall for more than 30 days. And that really says a lot about the current state in this market. And I think that a lot of people who've been expecting that classic December rally, that classic Santa Claus rally, they're just not going to be getting it, and we're going to be really flushing out a lot of that euphoria in the market. Because the key thing that I think not enough people are paying attention to, but I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, or at least trying to right here, is that this market is gaining confidence really, really fucking quickly, right? The market yesterday, 2 days ago, was at extreme fear on this index. And I know that this index is not the only way to measure sentiment, but trust me, from what I've seen, it's a really accurate measure, and you can do this yourself and you'll see generally the same things right here. We were at extreme fear. The very next day, we're up by $1,000, and we're already completely out of extremely fearful territory. We're at a reading of 27, up from 16. This is a big jump. And of course today, it's not a big jump, it's only 28, but the key thing is that we're coming out of these extremely fearful territories too quickly, because realistically, a lot of people still think Bitcoin is going to be rallying up. If we get that, potentially bloody December, that bloody November, that's really going to scare a lot of people out. Because, one of the key things I want you guys to keep in mind, one of the things I like to do on this channel is break down the psychology of exactly what's going on. And one of the key things I want you guys to keep in mind is that when these markets inflict pain on traders, they do it in 2 ways. Number 1, the price drops. And so that's that's going to hurt you because you want your investment to go up. And number 2, and this is the more important one, they twist the dagger of time into your chest, and that is what makes it hurt even more. The dagger's already in there, it's already hurting you, and now they're twisting it by applying pressure over time, and that's really what kills people in these markets, right? I think that's a very important thing to keep in mind right now, and it looks like the market is doing that, right? Even if Bitcoin starts trending up right now, it's already had so much time to inflict that pain, and I think that's a really important thing to be keeping in mind right now. So that target potentially giving us a double bottom makes a lot of sense. That means, if we're going to drop down there, I think that would happen pretty quickly now, because we're out of the pattern, and so that could even happen, perhaps by later today here in Dubai time. Tomorrow for those of you in Europe and the rest of the world, you're going to know that generally, when we come out of these patterns, we move pretty quickly, and if we do, that would be a perfect double bottom, and I'm not not actually bearish on Bitcoin, right? Like long term, you guys know I'm super bullish, and in light of this news, just making it official, I've never been more certain. In my honestly, I've never been more certain that I think Bitcoin is going to be rising up massively, and I want to be alone in that opinion. Guys, I want to make this really clear. I want to be alone in that opinion that Bitcoin can rise up massively, that Bitcoin can blast through all-time highs. I don't want people to agree with me. I want to make this super clear. I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to fucking hold hands and be like, writing beautiful love stories about how we're all going to get rich off Bitcoin together. No, I want the masses to sell their Bitcoin and get scared and give them back to the hands of the wealthy who happen to be patient, so that we can get this bloody thing going again, because the market just doesn't rally. I'm really sorry to break this to you guys, but you're getting Savage Sammy right now. It's bloody 2 a.m. here in Dubai. You're getting Savage Sammy. The market just doesn't rally when the average Tom, Dick and Harry is already in this market talking about, to their taxi driver, how Bitcoin's going to go up, and your barber's telling you that Bitcoin's going to go up. No, the average person does not win off these markets. I want to make that very clear to you right now. The average person is going to get frustrated because they don't have enough financial discipline to stick with a market and be patient, and they're going to give their Bitcoins back to the wealthy people at low prices, and then the market's going to rally back up. That's just how this works. And if you don't believe me, go back and look at what happened when Bitcoin fell from 65 down to 30, right? Who was selling their Bitcoins down here only to not have them and have to buy them back up on the way back up, right? This is the classic cycle that we see. And so, like I said, I'm looking for signs of a double bottom. This would be it. That would give it to me. And so that's why I'm putting it on your radar right now. I think it could be very powerful for Bitcoin. I think it could really help. And honestly, it looks like that's the direction that we might want to be going in anyway at the moment. I also want to talk to you a little bit more about where Bitcoin could be going with some other more normal analysis, because if we look at my chart that I have right here, I've been having quite a few support levels drawn out already. We've already kind of bounced off one of them, which is at 45.6. This is the low that we established for today, and we're now trending back up a little bit, just back towards that $47,000 level at the moment, potentially coming up for a back test. Maybe we find resistance there and carry back on downwards, but there is some support again at 44. I've already broken this down for you. I'll do this again in just a second, and then some more at 42. Guys, bear in mind, by the way, that like I said, on different charts, that target I gave you is different, right? On this chart for Coinbase, we're not going to be setting a double bottom using that descending triangle line and then, stretching it downwards. It doesn't give us a double bottom. It actually gives us a slightly higher low. They're both basically telling me the same thing though, so it doesn't really matter. I just wanted to tell you that for accuracy. But very important note right here is, yes, we have already had these support levels outlined, that I want to really focus your attention just on this $44,000 level and the $42,000 level. So what I'm going to go ahead and do right here is I'm going to change the color. This line right now is yellow. I'm going to make it a bright blue. Bam, look at that. I'm going to make this one a bright blue. And let's break down these two price levels. They're very important in my opinion, and I want to tell you why. So here's the thing. When Bitcoin was originally rallying back up to $20,000, and then it got its big breakout from $20,000. At $20,000, it was consolidating for quite a while. It stopped trading upwards for about a whole month, and that I think was a big display of basically bears selling off their last Bitcoins and exhausting the supply before the price started to skyrocket again. And when it was skyrocketing again, it peaked at $42,000. Not only did it peak there, it immediately saw a huge drop of 28% within about 5 days, a little bit less than 5 days, actually 4 days, and then it didn't manage to break its all-time high for another 30 days. This is very important data. This price level triggered a correction that lasted 30 days and dropped down 28% in 4 days. Really important. This was a key turning point in the market. It was a turning point as resistance, which is why it can function as a turning point as support. Bam, right there. This 42K level is no joke, right? I don't think Bitcoin is going to have an easy time breaking the support level. It's a strong support level, especially because this is where we found support before. Just this general green box that I have is the area that Bitcoin was finding resistance in. But then on the way back down, if you look at what happened right here, look, there is a sell-off that had quite a sizable sell-off. It starts at $47,000 nearly. Look at where the sell-off finds some relief. It's exactly at the top of this box, at the blue line representing that 42K level. And to be more specific, it's 42.2, but honestly, that level of specificity isn't required. Now, when we drop below it, look at where we're finding resistance. We're finding resistance at the very same line. Bam, again, where are we finding resistance? Bam, again, where are we finding resistance? This level has continuously, historically, been extremely important in my opinion, and that is why I want to bring it to your attention right now. Right, this level was very important historically in this trend, and because of that, I'm expecting it to function as good support. That's the 42K level. The 44K level also lines up quite well, because if you take a look at some of the other key reversals we've seen in the market, you can see, bam, right here, we blast up above this level, we find support here, and then we're setting brand new all-time highs. Again, over here, we see a big sell-off from that all-time high, but where does it end? Right in between these two levels, I'm seeing a big pocket between 42 and 44 where we can expect some support, and bam, onto a brand new all-time high. Right, again, if I just zoom in a little bit more, you can see what I was just speaking about, where this sell-off right here that starts at about 47K, it ends at the $42,000 resistance, support area, and that's where we get a few bounces, and then look, it just flips into resistance. It's poetic. I mean, this is exactly what normal TA looks like, and so we have a lot of different, just basic chart signs here showing us that the $42,000, $44,000 levels are important, and if these levels are important, well then we can expect that they can function as support, right? They've already worked as support in the past, they've already worked as resistance in the past, and now we're attacking it from above, so obviously we can potentially be using it as support, and not just any support, but strong support in my opinion, and that is something that very much is interesting to me. Now, the downside that I'm seeing with this whole chart, to be honest with you guys, is that there's nothing, and I mean nothing, which is bullish about this chart other than what I've just said, which would indicate a reversal. I mean, there is absolutely no other good sign on this chart that I can see. If I really zoom out and we look at the weekly time frame and throw on the Ichimoku cloud, we can see an Ichimoku cloud right here on the 1 week time frame, which if we drop down to this level now, pretty much like this week, we might start to see a bit of support. I mean, the support's actually going to start a little bit lower, but on the weekly time frame, it's quite a large cloud, so that's pretty cool. Let's look at momentum. We also have momentum on our side right now, so that is a big savior. I mean, this is what saved Bitcoin in the past, so this is something that I did want to draw to your attention, but that's it. That's it. I mean, daily time frame, momentum is bearish. I mean, it's gonna, not too long until this momentum catches up to the trend. I mean, we're talking if it kind of carries on dropping like this, I mean, we can expect some resistance up at the $50,000 level, just within a few days. And if we look at the Ichimoku cloud, which, as you know, is the only other indicator that I really base my analysis off, we've completely failed the support cloud here as well. I mean, we managed to get a little bit of a bounce into it, failed it, another bounce into it, and failed it. It's just not looking good in that regard. The other thing which does potentially look good though is actually kind of a potential falling wedge pattern, which looks a little bit like this. Now, it's not very clear when we zoom in, but yeah, I mean, you can kind of see it. It's just that this noise right here takes away from it a bit, but broadly speaking, what we could be looking at right now is a formation of lower highs and lower lows, which is generally pretty bearish and generally a pretty bad thing for these markets. But just the fact that Bitcoin has some strange tendencies, it does tend to kind of turn these patterns into bullish reversals. Although I must mention that we were potentially doing the same thing right here, and you can see how that ended up working out for Bitcoin. We didn't quite do the same thing because we didn't have such clear lows, you know, trending in this same pattern. But broadly speaking, you could make the argument that Bitcoin was just kind of doing the same thing, slowly trending lower, and then it collapsed down, right? And that's usually, you know, kind of what you would expect. But yeah, I mean, with Bitcoin, just in my experience, I've seen these things. I mean, usually you'd actually expect this to be a reversal sign, and you know, in my experience with Bitcoin, it's usually been the case that it turns these kind of patterns into bullish breakouts. And so I want you guys to keep that in mind, especially if perhaps, you know, let's say Bitcoin loses this support right now, which it's already done, and then it manages to drop all the way down to 42, and maybe it stays there for a day. That's going to do a lot of damage to the fear and greed index, and it could be enough to finally, you know, perhaps trigger a little bit of capitulation. I really don't think we're going lower than 40, but if we do, then, you know, I would be looking at perhaps 38,000 as the next line of defense, but I don't think that would hold, so perhaps the low 30,000s. And then for the bull case, because it's obviously worth entertaining it anyway, you know, I mean, look, we haven't actually fallen far below support, and so this could still be a fake out. I don't know how high the probability is. I don't think it's super high, because if it was a fake out, we probably would have recovered up already. Look at this right here. I'm sorry, when I said it's 2 a.m., I'm not joking. I'm so tired. This fake out right here, Bitcoin manages to drop below, and then literally the very next hour, if we zoom in, you can see that it's already managed to rise back up. And on this occasion, there's another fake out here, and within the same hour, it manages to rise back up. So, oh, never mind, we are just breaking up as I speak. So that's kind of fulfilling the bullish case right now. That was a little bit of a coincidence. Let's look at this on the 1 minute time frame. You can see where it peaks right here. And so, well, while we're here, I might not even be able to upload this video, man. That's frustrating. I've just done a 27 minute video, and if I don't get to upload this because the analysis is outdated, man, that is my sign to really go to bed. But anyway, yeah, we do have a situation here where, I mean, look, I mean, if it was gonna be a fake out, it would probably have broken already, you know, back up. So I'm not so sure about how I feel about that, but I mean, obviously we're doing it right now, so I guess it's not too late. Anyway, with that note, yeah, that's enough frustration for me. I don't know if this video is getting uploaded. You're gonna find out fairly soon, but I am off. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.